T-shirt which has Spider-Man and the Hulk and other superheroes on it. So if he knows about Spider-Man, I'm sure you do too. So in Spider-Man, there's a beautiful line of Uncle Ben, who says to his nephew that with great power comes great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. When I saw that some years ago, I was struck by the fact that just in that movie, that one idea had such power. It was a medium that can convey such wonderful ideas that only it were used to convey such wonderful ideas. But with great power comes great responsibility. And so, with the power of idealism and with the power of energy that youth has, innate within youth, is a great responsibility as well. So I want to speak about that responsibility. Again, I tweaked the title so that it is Swami Vivekananda's hopes for you, the future leaders of the global civilization. Each one of us here, each one of us out on the street, each one of us everywhere in the world is a leader, each of us is a teacher. Each person is a teacher and a leader, whether they consciously think about it or not. Every one of you has people that you influence. Every one of you has a field of influence. Even the person living in the street, the poor and dispossessed, the people who have no place to call home and who live in the street. They too are teachers and leaders in their own spheres. And so each of us is a teacher. Each of us is teaching by every action of ours. Each of us is teaching by every word of ours. And so we have to become conscious teachers and conscious leaders. Not teachers in the sense of, as we say in American slang, laying a trip on somebody. Not in that sense. But in the sense of consciously being careful about what it is that I say, how I say it, and to whom I say it. What it is that I do, how I do it, how I express myself. Learning to be a conscious teacher and a conscious leader. Again, not in the sense that I'm a teacher and you're students, in the sense that we're all teachers and we're all influencing each other. So, what will we teach? And what will we lead by? What will we teach and what will we lead by? First, let me say a few words about India. That's where we are, and that's where most of you are from. Not all, but most of you are from India. Swami Vivekananda, but what I want to say about youth in India has application to the world itself. Swami Vivekananda felt that India had a tremendous place in the modern world, and a place, an importance that would grow with time, an importance that would continue to increase. For the first time since the Buddhistic age, missionaries are going out from India. Not missionaries who are going out to convert people, but who are going to give the treasures of Indian civilization for anyone who's interested, anyone who wants it. And so Swamiji saw that once again teachers would go out from India into the world and to spread the great treasures of Indian civilization. And that also is a great responsibility. That's a tremendous responsibility. He felt that there would be a spiritual revival on a global scale, and that India would have a great part to play with that. And so, in preparation for that, all of us have to be careful and conscious about who we are, how we lead, and how we teach. What the world needs now is not just technological advancement. Technology can't solve all of the world's problems. Technology can't. What the world needs now is not just economic development. It's not just economic development that will solve the world's problems. Yes, that's important. And Swamiji wanted that. He said that as long as there's one dog in my country that's hungry, my religion will be to feed that dog. And he also said, quoting Ramakrishna, that you can't teach religion to an empty stomach. So economic development is important. Technological development also is important. But those don't solve the ultimate problems of human life. And so one of the things that's needed is we need, from India and from the other parts of the world as well, we need people who are big thinkers, people who have educated minds, not just in technical subjects, Almost every Indian child that I encounter, whether in India or in other parts of the world, if you ask them, what are your favorite subjects, everyone will say science and math, science and math. That's good, that's wonderful. But we also need people who have a mind for the humanities, who understand what life is about, and how humankind fits into it. We need a revival of the arts. We need a revival of culture. We need a revival in all of these different fields, a revival of civilization itself. And so in the pursuit of science and technological education, don't forget these other aspects of life. Those also are important. Those are, in fact, more important even than science and technology, no matter how important that might be. So we have to be a part of that. Swami Vivekananda wanted the people of India, and that is a responsibility also he has left with you. He wanted them to rewrite their history. That is, to go into their history and to have an indigenous history, to find out the roots of their history, to re-understand, to re-inquire into the roots of their own history, the roots of your own history, and to recreate the history as it actually happened, rather than the suppositions which have been forced onto Indian history. So rewriting of the history, a revival of values. Nowadays there's a great deal of talk about value-based education, which is a very good thing. What we need is a revival of values. And Swami Vivekananda said the Indian values are based in two main values, renunciation and service. And renunciation, that's one of those scary words that you think, oh, now Swami is going to start talking about how all of us are supposed to become monks and nuns. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Swami Vivekananda explained renunciation as unselfishness. The great values of Indian civilization are unselfishness and service. And one of the great things that Swami Vivekananda did, and you see that spreading like wildfire in India now, is that before, service in India was a tremendous part of the civilization, from ancient times to the present. No place like India where you find such an attitude of service. And yet the service was more restricted to one's community. But Swamiji broke down those barriers and said that no, service is to everyone. As he said, as I quoted a moment ago, as long as there is one dog in my country that's hungry, my religion is to serve that dog, to feed that dog. And so unselfishness and service. Another great feature of Indian civilization which Swamiji stressed and Ramakrishna lived is harmony. The ideal of harmony. That is, Hinduism has a remarkable capacity to see the possibility for harmony among all different types of clashing ideas. I won't develop that idea. It's a big idea. There are many ways it can be developed, many aspects to it. But let me say that many years ago, probably 40 years ago, I read a book called Hinduism Invades America. It never became very popular, but it was an attempt to talk about Hinduism coming to America, and it was written by a missionary, a Christian missionary, of course, a conservative Christian missionary, whose thesis was that as Hinduism comes into America, that's the greatest danger that American civilization faces, is the coming of Hinduism into America. And why did he say that? He didn't say it because clubs and we're going to hit everybody over the head or whatever. No, it wasn't because of violence or anything like that. It was very interesting and a very true perception. He said it's because Hinduism has the capacity to absorb everyone. Hinduism has the capacity to absorb. So the Hindus come to America and the Christian comes and says, well, why don't you become Christian? And the Hindu says, well, I love Christ too. And I say that, okay, you love Christ, but then you have to put all the other deities away. Well, no, I love them too. I love Christ, I love them, I love the Quran, I love all the different traditions. And so he said that the great danger of Hinduism is that it would break down walls and barriers and absorb the different traditions. So that in his mind, the author's mind, that was a great danger to American civilization. To me, that was a wonderful thesis and the great strength of Hinduism. That was the great hope of Hinduism. And so that also, along with service and unselfishness, the other thing that India has been strong in and which we need to always remember and to strengthen is that ideal of harmony. The ideal of harmony. that all people of the country are my people, of whatever community they come from, all are my people. I make room for everyone. But I also know who I am, and I'm strong in my own tradition. So Swami Vivekananda wanted you, the youth of India, not to forget your own people, not to forget your own people, not to forget your country, not to forget your own people. And own people means everyone within the country. Everyone, the high and the low, the rich and the poor, the high class, high caste, the low caste, the Hindu, the Muslim, everyone within the country, to look on all of them as your own, and to make them all your own. You may say that, well, everyone doesn't want to be our own. Well, that doesn't matter. That's from your side. That's from our side, I should say. And that goes for the rest of us from other countries as well. To learn to make the whole world your own. The Holy Mother's last message. To learn to make the whole world your own. That's one of the great strengths of Hinduism, that it has that capacity to open itself to everyone without forgetting what it is. That's also important, equally important. To know who you are, to know what your values are, to know what your culture is, to know what your strengths are, and also to know that no one in the world is a threat to that. If you know who you are, there's no one in the world who is a threat to you. And so that's a great lesson to learn. And so now, as far as the world goes, I'll finish with a few concluding remarks. Swami Vivekananda had great hopes for the youth of India, but he had great hopes for the youth of the world as well. He hoped that, again, that natural idealism, that natural energy of youth would inspire people to take up the cause of the rejuvenation of the world and the inclusion of people all over the world. I had a great lesson in that many years ago. A senior Swami of the Ramakrishna order, came to San Diego. Swami Nitya Swarupananda, a disciple of Holy Mother. And at that time I was in San Diego, California, managing the center. And so I was taking him around, showing him different sites in San Diego. During the 5 days he stayed with me. And one day I took him to a place called Mount Soledad, top of a mountain in San Diego, from where you get a 360-degree view of the city. And I was flabbergasted. I was taken by complete surprise when we got there. I'd shown him many things, and he was a good tourist. He liked to see things. He was interested in everything. But when I took him to Mount Soledad, he got out of the car and started walking around and saying, now you have brought me somewhere. Now you have shown me something. Look, 360 degrees, we can see the whole world. Here is Africa, here is Latin America, here is North America, here is Asia, here is Europe. The whole world spread before us in a very dramatic way. But it was a wonderful sight to see. This idea that, yes, all countries, all cultures are to be valued. All countries, all cultures are of great benefit to humanity. That we need that diversity. Swami Vivekananda didn't want, as messengers went out from India to teach in the world, to spread the values of Indian civilization in the world, the principles of Indian civilization in the world. He didn't want them to make the mistake that has often been made in the name of spreading religion, and that is of destroying other cultures. We're going to replace your culture with our culture. No, not that. But to learn to see the greatness of all, to respect the greatness of all, and then to give ideas and let people take them and imbibe them in their own way. And so as we go forward, we have to learn this lesson of breadth, this lesson of acceptance of all, and that we have to become strong in, and that we have to spread. In conclusion, again, if we learn the great value of sacrifice, the ancient Vedic ideal of sacrifice, yajna, which also is at the heart of the message of the Gita, and which is at the heart of the life of Hinduism, the ideal of yajna, that means sacrifice. Sacrifice, that means